You need to use the ground and getting the weight and all those big muscles working a little bit more efficiently to use the weight of the club head to create more energy and power into the golf ball.
All right, Pat, so let's talk about two key sections of the golf swing in regards to lag. And we see it's one of the most common terms that's searched by players out there. And we will see so many professional golfers at this frame of the downswing, hands kind of in the right leg, club head trailing behind the hands, club comes down, compresses the golf ball, nice divot after. Most amateur golfers are hanging back here.
Agreed.
But we're going to talk about in the backswing when the lead arm is parallel, specifically the relationship between the left arm here for the right hander and the club shaft, and then what it does from the backswing lead arm parallel to the downswing in regards to the wrist. Because fake lag, as I like to call it, we find that a lot of players are trying to do this number here, aren't they? They're trying to narrow the arc. Talk a little bit about why narrowing the arc by getting this arm folding and moving closer to our body isn't the best way of getting lag and then compression in the golf swing.
I think first and foremost, the ability for amateur golfers to externally rotate their shoulder is really tough, right? We lose mobility as we get older in age, and the majority of golfers, when they're trying to do that, are immediately putting themselves into a limitation and having to dump the club to even get anywhere near the golf.
Correct. So essentially what you're saying here is that for players that are trying to drive this elbow in, the trail arm here has to do quite a move in which it's a rotation, puts a lot of stress, and I can feel that in my scapula here. Now, for a lot of people who are desk dwellers or something similar like that, they might be a little bit more rounded in their posture. That's a very hard move to make.
Correct.
So if they're trying to drive that in and they're not physically able to do so, then all of a sudden, shaft gets super steep. We can see lead wrist starts to cup here, and then we're in big trouble.
Yep, right? And then you have to dump those wrist angles to get back to the ball.
Correct. And absolutely combined with that as well, as soon as this arc gets narrowed and closer and closer and closer, as soon as the body starts moving into play, we can see how high the hands are away from the golf ball. So I'm going to top it unless I throw in that very split second, and we see amateur golfers start standing up, early extending, and everything in between. So the professional golfer, as they swing back, lead arm parallel, they'll form almost a, let's say, 90-degree angle, let's say 110 degrees between this lead arm and the club shaft. Then talk about what happens in regards to the arms and maintaining width in this transition move, then coming back into lead arm parallel. It's a lot more about the wrists, isn't it? Rather than the actual arms getting super narrow to the body, isn't it?
100%. And if you get to the top of the backswing there, and as you work down into lead arm parallel, if you're rotating your body, the club is staying in a very similar position at the top of the swing to where the lead arm gets parallel. And that's increasing the angle in the wrist over here, which is then going to create more power and a repeatable motion into the golf ball.
And I think that's so key that you said that there. It's not a manipulation. It's not a conscious manipulation.
Absolutely not.
It's a weighted object that we're swinging around our body, and the change of direction actually decreases this angle, doesn't it?
Yep.
Into a point, we start to see that is getting into a point, and we'll throw some images of a professional up by this stage of the swing, very similar to what you see with the majority of the guys out there. Right? So I think a key takeaway for a lot of the players at home to work on here is more of just an understanding that to create lag and compression in the golf swing, it's very little about dragging the arms into position.
Agreed.
Right? Because I can do this, but let's say I start throwing my wrist angles away, I'm all mixed up right now, aren't I? Yeah. So as we get up to lead arm parallel, what's a drill or a feeling to help players at home who tend to be in this camp where they're losing this quite early? How do they work on creating this lag without dragging the arms into play?
Sure. I think that tension in the grip, wrists and forearms, and managing those levels is really important to help accomplish that. Also, when you're in that position with those softer wrists, forearms, and hands, you need to use the ground and getting the weight and all those big muscles working a little bit more efficiently to use the weight of the club head as it's designed to create more energy and power into the golf ball.
Yeah, totally agree. So you're saying that, let's say if I get up to lead arm parallel and I'm looking at this and we go, well, this is a reasonably 90-degree angle here. Then if a player was doing a transition, just feeling that the wrists are soft, and then as they continue to turn and start the downswing by almost a pushing down onto the lead foot, we can see that the club head does what?
Club head stays back, but the angle and the wrists increase, which is potential energy to hit the ball further.
So I think a great little drill sequence here would be going, let's get back to lead arm parallel, get a feeling of what that is, turn, recenter, get a sensation of that, then start from address, pivot, then go back, and that's actually making that feeling even more profound as such because it's that whole motion in one. And that nice little stopping, kind of, you're stopping with your body. You can feel that the club shaft is shallowing. You can see that the head is kind of...
You can feel the weight.
Exactly, the feeling of the weight. And then let's blend it into another one where I was just even aware that the wrists were soft at the top. And look at that divot there.
Low point's really far forward. It's going to compress the golf ball really well when it gets in front of the club.
And we know that the majority of amateur golfers are having their divots all the way back here. So I'm going to do 2 of those little repetitions. I'm going to go from address, lead arm parallel. That feels really good. Club face is in a good position. I feel that the club head is coming behind. Let's do one more practice swing and then we'll hit it from there. Yeah, love that. Perfect. All right, I've got a feeling this is going to be quite compressed. And just from those little reps, you can see how low launching, really powerful. Mate, ball first, ground second. Love it. Good job.